Hi all, so welcome to day 5 Gloomy Autumn. I can't believe that we are already on day 5. I'm super excited to take you on the journey to paint this one. So let's come, join me, and let's get started. So in this one, we're gonna start with same thing by wetting the paper, and I'm not gonna do any prior sketch, so don't fear that. You will get to know how we're gonna paint that mountain. Trust the process, enjoy it, and yeah, let's do it as I'm doing, right? So just wet the paper, and while you're wetting the paper, as I always say, always remember that there should not be any puddles in the paper. We don't want any water puddles, right? What we want is a shine of water, and that's what we are looking for. So ensure that your paper is completely wet throughout nicely. Okay, so what we are gonna do, we will take some ultramarine blue or bright blue or cerulean blue, whatever you have, right, and whatever you want to do. You can take that blue. So I'm gonna start with ultramarine blue for this one and paint the skies. You're gonna keep it very light. If you can see, my paint is very diluted. It's very light in color, right? So we'll start with this. So I'm gonna have some sky at the top, then a mountain, and then we'll at the bottom we're gonna fill it with trees, right? So ultramarine blue and a different shade of. So I think I used a bright blue over here just to give it a little bit darker shade. And now because it's very gloomy, right? So we wanna give a feeling of dark clouds. So I am gonna add some neutral tint or maybe burnt umber to that the sky, right? So it just gives you that gloomy feeling. And yeah, it's a very tricky thing that we're gonna paint mountain also with the brushes because we have not done any prior sketches, right? So we're gonna use brush only to give mountain outline, and then our mountain will not be very defined because it's in the background. In the foreground, what we want to concentrate is on the trees. We don't want to concentrate on the mountain, and that's why it is not very defined. It will be just something that gives a hint of the mountain. Okay, so now once I have painted this sky, right, and don't try to copy exactly as I have done because we are doing wet on wet and it's bound to differ. It will differ from what I am doing and what you do. Even I can't make something very similar to what I am doing. It's just the nature of watercolors, right? So I'm gonna add some neutral tint to this one to make some darker clouds so that it just looks a little gloomy. Okay, so let's start. I think I'm gonna start with it from left side, and then wherever I feel that I need to have a darker cloud, I'm gonna go ahead and add some neutral tint or a burnt umber. But as you can see, it's just very diluted version, right? So we just want to give a hint of darker clouds at some location. But if you see that if it overpowers your whole sky, then maybe do another round of ultramarine or any blue shade that you have used for your sky. I think it's just gonna go. It will go too light. I think when it dries up, it's gonna go too light. So I'm gonna do another layer of blue. I think over. Yeah. I think it would make sense because it will dry too light. And you guys know, right? So by now you have learned that whenever watercolor dries, they dry just too light. So whatever you were expecting, but they'll dry a one shade light, right? So yeah. So now added another layer of ultramarine blue, and now I think we'll do some mountains. So at the center of the page, right, at the center of the page where the sky is ending, we are gonna keep a tip of mountain there, and then use Payne's gray to give some strokes. So I'm giving some strokes, right? So these are mountain strokes only. The strokes that I'm giving are for mountain. So you also follow similar kind of strokes. Okay, so it's just a hint. As I told you guys, right? I would be only giving the hint that it's a mountain. Yeah. See how it makes a difference. I think it's looking very good. It just gives a huge difference, and you will see it when it just dries up, right? You'll see the difference when it dries up. I've taken some purple, very light purple shade to cover the rest of the mountain structure. This step is actually not needed. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. What we want to start doing it now is put some lemon yellow here to give the base, like first layer for your trees. And then again, same thing that we always do, right? So then Indian yellow, orange, and then some reds. It's the same thing that we are following from the first class. So we do a base layer of lemon yellow. On top of that, you can do compost yellow, or you can do Indian yellow. On top of that, you can do uh, cadmium orange, but then it's gonna be very opaque. So I don't recommend maybe vermilion, but on a diluted version. I think gold is also a good option. It's just a little bit of orangey in shades. That's also a good option. So on the top, we just made tree-like structure, but on the bottom, I just filled everything because it's gonna get covered with another layer of color that we're gonna do on top of it, right? So what we have done till now is we have done a sky, given a hint of mountain, and as we go ahead, we'll just make that mountain a little bit darker. Okay, so why I'm not doing at the go, because it was wet and I wanted to dry a little bit. As soon as it keeps on drying, not completely dry though. Okay, so as soon as it just a bit more dry, we give that mountain little bit more details, and then we move ahead. So we wanna keep refining it until unless we are very happy with how it is looking. Okay. Now I don't want to fill everything with that shade and then define a mountain properly, because my trees will come on top of it and it's gonna anyways go in the background. So there's no point in defining the mountain at this stage very well, right? Because it will not be looking. What you will be seeing is the trees um, on in front of it, right? So that's what we are doing. And then I did a base layer for the tree and we're gonna refine it further. So we keep doing layers on layers. So we do base layer, then add color, and if you want to add structure of the tree, that also, right? So that's how we will be defining. We're gonna add colors on top of colors, layer it with multiple colors, and then give it a depth. So when you do layering in watercolor, it gives watercolor some depth. Sorry. Okay, so this is what I am doing. So now I don't want that mountain color to swipe through the tree area, right? And that's why I'm lifting the paper on the other side, so the trees goes on that side. It just goes on top of the mountain, and then mountain neutral thing that I have been using doesn't come to the bottom. Okay. Now the next shade that we are trying is the scarlet, and I just love that color when we do it in layers. It just pops out. When you do over the yellow, oh my god, it just looks so beautiful and bright. It just changes your whole painting. And I know you guys are wondering that, oh, this is nothing looking like tree or forest. What are we doing? But then don't worry about it. Just follow the process. As I told you, we will be working on layers, right? It's very important in watercolors to work in layers if you are trying to achieve a depth. And that is what we are trying. And I felt like sky doesn't have any lighter shades in it, and it's just still wet. So whatever colors I did, it just swept through all, and it just did not created those clouds that I wanted. So I just lifting some colors here and there. If your sky looks good, then you don't need to do what I'm doing as of now. You don't need to lift any colors. Yeah. So couple of things we need to ensure that our sky looks gloomy enough. Tip of the mountain is detailed enough. We don't want to bother about the rest of the mountain because it's not gonna be visible though, right? And then I think once your base is done, we will have to somewhat dry our paper before we head to the next step. So I'm gonna increase tree length on the side because I think it's just not on top of the mountain yet. So I'm gonna just increase and do another layer from any color, from lightest color to the dark at the bottom. So I'm gonna just do quickly one round and then we'll be drying this paper, right? So all the detailings in watercolor preferably to be done once your paper is dry, right? Or if you're doing as an because what will happen, right? If you do in wet on wet, you know the drill. Now it's gonna bloom here and there. You will get blooms of other colors on top of a different color, right? Your uh, color will disperse in contact of water, be it another color, right? So it's just not gonna look nice. You the definition that whatever we are defining will not be defined anymore. So it's just gonna spoil. So now I just want all of you to wait till the paper is dry and don't do any kind of detailing. So I am waiting for my paper to be dry here. So we don't start doing the detailing once the paper is dry. Okay, so now my paper is already dry and we're gonna do some detailing. So you can see that we define some yellows and orange and see how lighter it has dried up, right? If you can just compare previous few seconds to now, it's just very light in color. Now we do the detailing. So you start with yellows and oranges, and then as you come down, you will be using your dark orange, scarlet, and some browns. Okay, and we define some pine trees. So, if you can see the trees that I'm trying to draw are also not very perfect. They are in a very zigzag manners, right? So you hold your brush from the top. Don't hold your brush very near to your uh, bristles. It just have to be further. The farther your hand movement would be, that light. Okay, you will not be able to control it. It's very light. So you do a very rough zigzag movement. So we go left, right, left, right, left, right, and add some trees and branches over there. So that's how we're gonna do some trees. Just follow the process. So if you can see, right, that the yellow is still popping out a little bit, and we're gonna do this more darker version as you come bottom of your page. So let's start filling this up. So as I told you, you'll do yellow, scarlet, burnt sienna, burnt umber maybe, and then define some trees, right? So that's how you're gonna proceed. I'm gonna just speed up a little bit so that we can just get this completed. While we are doing this, I also realized that that mountain has gone too at the background and the tip is also not visible. So let's make it a little bit darker over there, right? So I'm just gonna do some strokes at the tip of the mountain to make it a little darker, and then we can apply same thing at the tree trunks which are not visible. So now you can see the mountain is visible, and then some trees which are like totally hidden. So we're gonna make them little darker so that they appear like there is something. Okay. So we're just defining it. You just need to make sure that your paper is not too wet while you're defining it, else it's gonna just spread. Okay. And we want to make very thin tree strokes somewhere, right? The bottom trees are a bit darker, so you can define few trees here and there with the darker version, and I think that's okay. So just something near to you would be more darker. and it can be a muddy area or something like that, right? So trees are there. So you are standing at the bottom of, imagine that you're standing at the bottom of your page space, right? So you're standing there and then you're looking. So you see a mountain at a very distant, then a forest of these pine trees, basically filled with pine trees, and then you're watching from very distant, right? So you are not, so at your eye level everything looks a little bit of defined, not very defined. So the trees that are very near to you would look defined, but the trees that are at the back will not look defined. And even that mountain, right, you're only able to see the peak of it. So that's why we're gonna do something this way. And if you think, for I thought that my reds are taking over and my orange or yellows were not actually visible, so I did redid that. And now we'll gonna add some teeny tiny buds over here so that they enhance the look of that whole weather, right? See how much of a difference a bird can make. And for this one, I recommend you guys to use a size 2 or size 1 or size 0 brush, not bigger than that, because it just will not work. Okay. And don't worry if your lines are getting thicker somewhere. I think it's good. So wow, we completed day 5. Pat yourself on the back that you have completed day 5 as well. Look how beautiful it is looking, right? I just love that sky and mountain peeking out of those trees. So thank you guys for joining me in this class. I hope you had lots of fun, and I just can't wait to share more projects with you. Thank you so much. Come join me in the next class. We will be painting something fun.